Explorer yachts are all the rage at the moment, but behind me here is a really interesting new player. This is the new Outer Reef 780 Adventure, and it's an Explorer yacht, but with a twist. Now I'm going to show you all about this, tell you everything there is to know, and give you a full tour of the yacht. My name is Hugo Andreae, you're watching Motorboat and Yachting. Let's go and tour it. Now the first thing to know about Outer Reef is that they are better known for their very sort of classic style trawler yacht built out of GRP. This is an all-steel design, it is built in Holland, and it is very much built to super yacht standards. So it is a category A design. Cleverly it just fits under the 24 metre, not just the load line length, but also the LOA, so it's able to anchor much closer to shore than anything bigger than that. But it is also a seriously tough long-range yacht. Now, you can see the design of it. It's a little bit more modern, so it has a kind of trawler explorer style aesthetic, but with a much more modern, fresher edge. Ideally suited really to European waters, although you could take it absolutely anywhere in the world. Now, it has a range of around 4,000 nautical miles at 7 knots, a little bit less if you go faster, and very unusually, it has what's called a fast displacement hull design. So it's all a pure displacement hull, and being built out of steel it kind of has to be, but with that special fast displacement shape it enables it to go a bit quicker, so you can fit it with the big engines that will do almost 20 knots. But first let's have a proper look round, because there is a lot to see. Now we've got the cockpit area here, and being all steel, one of the other benefits is you can have lots of different layout designs. This is probably what they call the standard one, where you get a really big cockpit area, lots of seating here, and then a saloon further forward. But you can also have an extended saloon that will bring that further out, so that you get a bigger saloon with an indoor dining area. You can also have an asymmetric design where the saloon will actually come out and fill up a chunk of this side deck, so you have even more space inside, but obviously a little bit less access around the decks. So lots of different options. If you don't particularly like this one, you can spec it very differently indeed. And that's one of the beauties of all steel, because you can move a whole load of different things without it affecting the integrity of the boat. Let's take a quick tour of the decks first, because this is a full walk around design. We've got these really tall bulwarks on the side. They provide plenty of protection. Obviously very nice wide side decks. You've got full protection overhead, grab rails up the steps. That's what I mean by solid steel design. You can hear it, you can feel it. It's an extremely robust yacht. And of course, weight really isn't an issue if you've got a full displacement yacht. So here we've got tender storage, really big Williams Sport Jet 435. I think you can get bigger models on too. There's certainly space up here. You can see it could go quite a bit further forward if you wanted it to. Opaque Mare crane, I think that is good for about 2 tons. We've got another jet ski here. This looks like a Sea-Doo Spark, but again, you could get bigger, heavier ones here if you wanted to. Now on this boat, we've got access down to the crew cabins here, and we'll try and take a look at that in a minute, but mostly you have access down below, but this particular owner wanted access from the foredeck. Simply huge locker down there for storage for fenders. You can keep all your inflated fenders and lines down there. This one has a single anchor. You can fit twin anchors if you want to, but look how cool it looks from here. Really nice, kind of clean, modern aesthetic. So you've got all the kind of trawler yacht toughness and robustness and those reverse angle windscreens, but it's just a very nice, clean, neat, modern design rather than trying to be too classic or anachronistic. Exactly the same walk around decks. We have got access into the pilot house from, well, into the galley actually from here on this side, but this is where the saloon would come out all the way if you wanted to. Now this just has sort of windscreens here, but you could put full glass in there. You can even put drop down windows. So this can be a really nice sheltered area. It feels fine to me like this, but if you wanted to have full glass or isinglass, you can fit a number of different options to create an even more sheltered zone here. Really secure sliding glass doors into the saloon. And actually, this may not be the extended saloon version, but it feels very nice and beamy in here. It's hard to think that you'd necessarily want more seating, but I suppose what it would give you is the option to have a dining area inside as well as out if you wanted. And you can have that either with the extended length saloon or the one that's pushed out to the side. It just gives you enough space to have a dining table in here too. This version has lots of storage all along here. It is a proper full long-range cruising yacht, so you really can't have too much storage. Masses of space everywhere. I'm not going to show you them all, but just gives you an idea. You've got the capacity to store everything you need for a longer range cruise as well. So this is the galley. You can open this up if you want to have a more open galley that overlooks the saloon area. You can do that too. This one is a crewed yacht, so they've deliberately kept it a bit more separate. This is the access door out to the side deck, so crew can come and go. We've got full height fridge freezers, one on each side, one this side, one this side. Washing machine, sink, all the usual kit. This is the access down to the cabins. We'll take a look down there in a minute, but first let's carry on to the pilot house. Now this is a really well designed pilot house. You've got those big reverse angle screens, nice and tall, nice and deep, so you've got a good view over the top of those big Garmin screens. You've got a door out on this side, so you've got immediate access to the side deck. Proper STID captain's chair. This swivels and slides and goes up and down, absolutely all the works. And what they've tried to do is keep things relatively simple, because a lot of these boats are owner-operator boats, and the last thing you want is masses of complexity. You know, you want a boat that is simple to run, that's reliable, that you can do without having to, or that you can captain without having to read endless catalogues and manuals and everything else. So relatively simple. Controls for the Cummins engines, we'll take a look in the engine room later. Full hydraulic thruster. This particular boat has hydraulic stabilizers too, as well as hydraulic thrusters. It's the side power fins, so this is the stabilization. Curved fin stabilizers gives really good control underway and at rest, but particularly underway it gives you that much more power. That is access out to the bow area, but crucially on this boat we've also got access to the Flybridge. Now this again is quite a bespoke design. This particular boat only has external access from here, but you can have internal access from the saloon and external access from the aft cockpit. But this is a really terrific space too. Now again, standard layout, most people would opt for a second helm up here. Again, because this is a crew-operated boat, it's being fully crewed from down below in the pilot house. So in this instance, they've gone for a really lovely seating area at the bow here, but you could still have room for a starboard helm there and plenty of companion side seating over here. Full length hard top overhead, so it feels very nice and sheltered. You can also enclose some of this either with sort of clear plastic, or I think there might be the option to put glass on this too. But you can certainly have a really nice sheltered space in here. But to be honest, with this hardtop overhead, it already feels pretty well sheltered. Big bar area down this side. We'll take a little bit of a look at that from round the other one. More storage space. I think, what have we got in here? I think that is just plenty of storage space under there. I think all the fridges and so on are over the other side. Now this is one of their other boat designs. This is the crossover Lynx that has even more space for tenders. It's basically an enormous sort of garage style boat. You can see we've got a basketball court and a Land Rover Defender. So they have really good pedigree in terms of designing support vessels for super yachts and those sort of crossover garage style yachts. So this is the other side of the wet bar. You can see we've got a fridge under there, got an ice maker there. I won't bother opening it. All the facilities you need. Big dining area. This is still under the shelter of that extended hardtop, and an enormous sun pad at the stern here. And if you go for the extended saloon, it is possible to have this, extend this even further out so you get more space here, and then you can put the tender on this aft deck if you choose. If you get rid of the sun pad, you can stow the tender there instead. But this is one of the joys of this boat, that it can be fully customised. And of course, if you go for the standard entry to the Flybridge, there is a staircase coming up down there from the cockpit, and then this external one is lost, and then there is an internal one coming up from just behind the pilot house. But let's go back down and take a look inside. So we come back down this starboard deck. Look at the size of some of this mooring gear. Massive winches, huge cleats, several cleats. Got fair leads, double cleats, another fair lead. It's the kind of boat that people will move to, having maybe had a bit of a flavour of a sort of Navetta style boat and got a real taste for doing some proper exploring. They might then move up to this to do some real distance and maybe explore, I don't know, Arctic oceans or something. It really has that kind of capability. So, staircase going down into the lower deck. Again, there are lots of different optional layouts down here. This has the 4-cabin design, so you have 2 good size double cabins at the stern, but equally you could have a full beam owner's stateroom here, and that would be simply enormous, because check out how big these are. It's got enough beam for the bed to run across the boat rather than fore and aft. There's still plenty of foot space, floor space all around the bed. Got really good headroom. This has got to be, I reckon that's 7 foot above my head. Bigger windows than you traditionally find, or that you normally find in a more conventional, traditional design of trawler. So just, again, lets in a bit more natural light, probably not getting the full benefit of this where we're hemmed in between other boats. Ensuite bathroom, really big shower. And bear in mind, this is just one of the doubles. This isn't a master suite, although I guess in this option, in the 4-cabin version, this is where the owner would sleep too. Got the toilet behind the door. Little vanity unit on this side. If we come back round, you can see there is effectively a mirror image of that cabin there. But just imagine how big this would be if these 2 cabins were knocked together and you had full beam with a bed in the middle on the centre line. How much space would there be on either side of that bed? It would be enormous. So I won't go into too much detail because you've seen exactly the same on the other cabin, but plenty of space. The other thing I really like about this is that the corridor is nice and wide. So often you get these boats where they put all the space into the cabins and then you end up with this really long, thin, pokey corridor. But because we've got a kind of lobby area at the foot of the stairs, nice wide corridor going forward, all the doors are a sensible size. There is a day heads at the foot of the stairs, makes a lot of sense. So you can just drop down into there, use the day heads if you want to. Washer dryer in there, very cleverly sort of stored out the way. It's not going to be too noisy or in the way of anything. Amazingly, there is also an even bigger storage unit in there, and that is literally just spare space. So you can put suitcases in there, or extra furniture, or cleaning gear, or I think you can have another big full height fridge freezer in there. So if you want extra freezer space, that's a logical place for it. But so nice not to have to be sort of cramming stuff into valuable cabin storage space. Like I said, a lovely big light corridor leading through to the other 2 cabins. Now these are twins, but again, not just any old twins. These are really generously proportioned twins. The beds themselves are a good 3 feet wide, really nice big gap in between them. It doesn't feel like you're sort of breathing on your next door neighbour here. There is enough space between you. 2 good hull windows in here, and it's just a nice light modern finish. So often trawler yachts look fantastic from outside but can just feel a bit dark and dingy inside because they've got small hull windows and rather dark wooden furniture. This feels modern, it feels fresh, but it still has all the attributes of a trawler yacht in terms of space and robustness. Right, they're all en suite, and then exactly the same over on this side. Another big twin cabin, exactly the same layout. Feels a little even brighter in here, I think just because we've got the sun on this side and the boat isn't quite so close. But look at the size of the bathrooms on these two twin cabins. You're not some pokey little ensuite. It is a really spacious bathroom, every bit as well spec'd. Big, proper shower compartment, not some pokey little plastic thing. This is a serious liveaboard yacht. And that's important because the idea is that you are going to be doing serious range on this, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute when we go and see the engine room. But let's pop back up onto the main deck first. Let's take a quick look down in that crew cabin then. Now this is a little bit of an unconventional entry down into it, but if I swing that round you can probably see me disappearing down the hatch, but at least it's not a ladder, it is a proper staircase, albeit a pretty steep one. Right, here we are down in the cabin space, it's the crew space. And it's actually very nicely fitted out down here, so really good sized bunks. They are bunk beds, but look how wide that bunk is. That's not some pokey little shelf that you're expected to sleep on. That is a really decent width of bunk. And one of the reasons for that is when it's an owner-operator boat, what they often find is that these become overspill cabins for crew. So rather than this little sort of galley space here, that becomes a passageway through into the main guest areas of the yacht, and you can come and go through there. So this can be a guest cabin or an overspill cabin or a crew cabin. It gives you that flexibility. This owner, it is a permanently crewed boat, so he just wanted separate crew cabins. Exactly the same on this side. So even if you do have guests overspilling into one of the cabins, there's still a second crew cabin here. Again, you've got a hull window, so it's not too dark. We've already talked about the size of the bunks. The only difference is they don't have an ensuite bathroom, they have a separate bathroom in here. But it is pretty decent size. This one doesn't have a separate shower compartment. You can see that it is a wet room, so effectively the shower is just in the corner there. But all things considered, not a bad compromise. To get access to the engine room, the main access is via the aft deck, but there is an emergency access under this sunbed if you want to get to it without going onto the bathing platform. But we're going to go this way just because the hatch is open and it gives you a better idea. Now, even here there's some quite clever thinking going on. These fender sort of bars effectively just create a bit more height so a boat can come alongside and there's no danger of damaging either boat. These just literally unscrew and stow away in this locker here. So again, some clever thinking, typical of a boat that's often used in a kind of mixed commercial style role, and they've just adopted that same thinking for this boat. Really big lazarette in here. This is just a storage space, but you can fit it out how you want. You can see we've got a couple of sea bobs on either side of the aft platform. There's plenty of space to store those down here. You can also fit it out as a diving room, so you can have diving compressors and tanks down here. They've kept all the electrics outside of the engine room, just keeps them that much cooler. It is a fully sealed, watertight garage door here. So even though there is a separate steel bulkhead here, the main watertight section is this door here, and this is more just separation between the lazarette and the engine room. Let's go and have a look into the engine room. Now, I love an engine room where I don't have to duck or come down a ladder. That's that emergency access if you want to get, well, it's not really emergency, it just means you can get to it through the cockpit if you want to without going out on the aft deck if it's a bit rolly at sea, for instance. But look at the space and light in here. This is a yacht owner's or a yacht captain's dream scenario. You've got full standing headroom, really well lit, plenty of space to move around. The engines themselves are relatively small. It is a pair of 425 horsepower Cummins. Now, with these engines, it will do a maximum speed of about 11 knots flat out, but really it's designed to cruise at kind of anywhere between about 7 and 9.5 knots. And at 8.5 knots, it's using 47 litres per hour. Very little for a boat of this size. And more importantly, at 7 knots, you have that 4,200 mile range. If you up that to 9.5 knots, it drops to 2,400 miles. And that is from the standard 15,000 litre tanks with a 10% in reserve. But you can upgrade that to 20,000 litres if you want. Now, a couple of things to note. That fuel is spread across a whole load of different tanks. We have the day tank down here. We've got a wing tank on either side. And then there is the main central tank deep down in the keel. So it has a full length deep keel, keeps it really stable. Does mean it draws around about 2 meters at rest, but it's still just about shallow enough to creep around the Bahamas, for instance, or in the Caribbean. Straight shaft design, very nice and simple. Again, they're really looking to try and make things easy for the owner-operator, so you don't need a degree in engineering to operate the yacht. This is all the hydraulic system. So we mentioned it has hydraulic fin stabilizers. They're curved, that makes them even more efficient. Also has hydraulic thrusters, gives you the more power, and of course it means you can run them without any danger of overheating the electric engines. Twin Racor fuel filters on each engine, so you've always got that built-in redundancy. You can operate it on one while you clean out the other. Raw water strainers down there. Exactly the same setup on this side. Full toolkit, big exhausts coming out. And then twin Onan generators. You see we've got one this side and one that side. It also has a really big battery bank and inverters. It's just standard AGM batteries, but you can run it off inverters for a while if you want to run it as a silent yacht. But I just love the fact that it's so clean, so uncluttered, so much space, exactly what you want. Let's finish up this tour of the Outer Reef 780 Adventure here on the foredeck with those two tenders behind me in the background. Now, prices for this boat start at about 6.25 million euros. Now, that is a chunk of money, but then this is a serious chunk of boat and exactly the kind of craft that really appeals to me. I like the fact that it's got all the range and robustness and seakeeping of a heavy-duty explorer yacht, but the interior of something a bit lighter and more modern. I also rather like that 4-cabin layout. I'm not the kind of person that necessarily needs a huge full-beam owner's cabin, but I love the fact that you've got the option to have that if you want to. Personally, I would want to make that crew cabin a little bit more accessible and go for the access through the lower corridor. I would also want the internal and external staircase up to the Flybridge. But that is the beauty of this yacht. You can customize it to suit your exact needs. So do let me know what you make of it, what you would fit, what you wouldn't fit. And of course, as always, thank you very much for watching.